once again to Retire Smart Maryland with Ozzie Culhagil, Prashant Sabapathi. I'm your host, Spike Spengel, and we are talking, Maryland, about your retirement planning needs. Gentlemen, how are you doing today? Ozzie, I love that tie on you. How you feeling?
I'm doing great.
We're focusing on money, focusing on the green today.
Yeah, focus on the money, focus on the green, and I love my tie.
Yeah, fantastic. Prashant, how about you? What's going on with you?
I'm doing excellent. It's good to see you again, Spike.
Thank you so much for having me here. You've got a wonderful program we have put together.
Yeah.
You know, we know all kinds of reasons why we need to get into the gym and get healthy.
Yeah.
We know when we're not feeling right and we need to get to a doctor. We know when we hear something thunking in our car and we need to get to a mechanic.
Yep.
My question that I would like for you guys to answer throughout today's program is, how does somebody know when they need a financial planner? And this could be anywhere from our 20s to our 30s, all the way into our 50s and 60s. And you said there's all different kinds of retirement planning. But I want to start there. How does somebody know that it's time to start working with a professional?
Look, retirement today is so different than it was like 20 or 30 years ago, right? Like back in the day, we all used to have these pensions where we could have a dependable monthly income. We'd have Social Security coming in, and that was a great supplement to our pension. So all we really had to do was deal with 1/3 of the retirement pie, so to speak. But in this day and age, it's so different, right? Pensions have started to go away. That burden of responsibility has shifted from the employer to you, to all of our viewers out there, the employee. So now it's on you to plan for your best retirement, and you have to start early because things are going to change. There's going to be life events that come into play. You need to get ahead of that to create a comprehensive and coordinated plan, and I think we have to start now.
Prashant, you could not be more correct. Our retirements have been put on us. But I've got a viewer question at the end of today's program from a government employee, because that's something I want to address. Obviously, here in Maryland, we have so many governmental employees who live and retire around here. They are fortunate enough to have that, and that's a whole different retirement system that, from what I understand, you both are also familiar with and being able to help folks out there. So just another tool we're going to get to in a little bit. So first, let me ask you, though, what would you say is some of the biggest mistakes, or the biggest mistake, maybe, Ozzie, that you see when people make when it comes to retirement planning?
Not having a plan.
Well, there you go.
That's a good one.
Hey, coming up next. Well, no, you're right. Not having a plan, meaning not having any real strategy of what you're going to do.
A plan in your head is not a plan. The plan has to be in writings, and the plan has to cover your lifestyle, your needs, and your wants. When we sit down with the people, the question what we ask first is, what do you need? Then they tell us what they need. Then after the question, we ask again, what do you want? And they come in like, I would like to, you know, take vacations, go here and there. Do you have a plan for this? No, I'm thinking about it. Like, thinking about it is not the plan. It doesn't cover everything. You have to have a proper balance to cover everything in your plan.
And for you, is a plan a one-time process, or is it ever changing? Because that might be daunting to someone. Say, I got to make all my retirement choices right now, or do you make amendments to it along the way as well?
I think the plan has to be fluid. What I mean by that is the plan that you are doing it today may be not the right plan in 10 years from now, because your needs can change. So that's the reason when we sit down with our clients, we make sure that we see each other a couple times a year, and we update the things. When we tell the clients, look, whenever you make a big decision, what is a big decision? Buying a car, selling a house, buying a house, just tell us what you are doing, and we update your plan based on what it changed in your life, so you have the proper retirement.
Helping out the kids and the grandkids, college, all of those kinds of things. You say,
or the kids coming back to the house, which we see a lot.
Yeah, see a lot of that. So not having a plan, I like that. And I'm going to ask you here, just again, real quick, as a reminder, folks, that Prashant and Ozzie here are the co-founders of Elite Income Advisors right here in Maryland. We're not just talking about the economics of retirement. They are financial planners who help people figure out retirement planning strategies, how to make sure that the nest egg that they've accumulated or the pension plans that they might have will work for them all the way through their retirement years. And so that's the focus of the program here, and that's what you two do in the offices every single day at Elite Income Advisors. So, Prashant, I wanted to ask you, what do you see as some of the biggest mistake, or maybe the biggest mistake, that people make when it comes to retirement planning?
I think the biggest mistake today, in addition to what Ozzie said, is people either taking too much risk with their retirement investments, or some people not taking enough risk with their retirement investments.
How are they supposed to know with too much or too little? That's not fair.
Yeah, you know, like I've seen 60-year-olds that are invested like 30-year-olds, okay? But I've also seen 50 or 55-year-olds that still have 10 years of runway before getting to retirement that are entirely too safe with their money, and they're not able to keep up with inflation, right? In the past, it wasn't such a big deal. When inflation was 1%, 1.5%, it wasn't a huge deal. You might be able to make 2 or 3% fixed somewhere, and that would be good enough. But I'll tell you what, when I go to the gas pump, it's not 1 or 2% inflation anymore, right? It's 8.5%, and that's a scary thing. If you're not able to keep up with inflation, it's going to erode your purchasing power over time. And when that purchasing power erodes, it leads to a retirement that is not as fulfilling as it should be for you.
So I totally get that, and we hear that a lot, right? I don't want to be in the risky markets. I'm getting towards retirement. I'm going to slow down. I want to go over to safer features. But you have to take into account things like taxes and inflation in the long run. Let's talk about that other one, though, first. The one you say 60-year-olds come and invest like they're 30-year-olds. Is that their fault? Do they do that on purpose?
No, I think a lot of times, you know, we're sold this Wall Street story of how investments work. You know, a lot of times we see those targeted date funds, which are supposed to get more and more conservative as you get to that age. But when we look under the hood on those investments, what we find a lot of times is that they're a heck of a lot more riskier than we know of, right? And so it's not because of there's any fault from our viewers, it's maybe just because that there hasn't been enough education surrounding this. And so when we meet with folks in our offices every single day, this is what we do. We evaluate retirement portfolios. We do a deep dive into the investments that you have, and we take a look at what a potential best case might look like, but more importantly, we take a look at what a potential worst case would look like. This is a question I ask every single person that comes in to visit with us. Of the money you have saved for retirement today, how much can you lose before you begin to feel uncomfortable? I've heard people say 10%, 20%. I've had people say 50%. What's important is that we compare that answer that you have for your risk tolerance to how much actual risk is in your portfolio. If there's a discrepancy there, that's an immediate red flag that needs to be addressed. And this is why we put together what we call a Retire Smart roadmap for every single viewer that comes in to visit with us. You can get your Retire Smart roadmap totally complimentary if you just call and schedule a time to visit with us. The phone number is 833-308-5200, or you can take out your cell phone, take a picture of this QR code, and schedule a time with us, totally complimentary and no obligation for that initial conversation.
Call Ozzie and Prashant right here anytime during the week or weekend, 833-308-5200. Ask for your Retire Smart roadmap. It's going to be a review of your investments, your taxes, your liquidation strategy moving through retirement, all of that complimentary right here. Prashant doesn't realize it. He just opened up a can of worms. We're going to talk about target date funds when we get back, right after this.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have, by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland with Ozzie Culhagil and Prashant Sabapathi. They are both the co-founders of Elite Income Advisors right here in Maryland. And we're talking about what really pushes someone to need a financial advisor. When do we finally get to that point, say, I want to make sure I'm handling this well, not only for myself, but also possibly for my spouse, my family. And one of the easy buttons that we say, if I can steal somebody else's marketing phrase, are these target date funds. And I've seen them misused where people will use 2 or 3 target date funds. and they think that that's being diversified. We're already laughing. Why is that wrong? Do you see people using target date funds properly?
I'm just going to give you a very simple example. One of our friends had a target date fund back in 2016, I believe, and he was getting ready to retire in 2017. And he thinks that he's in the target fund, and he says like, hey, I'm in the target fund, I'm good, you know, it's gonna be great. And a year after he looked at it, his portfolio started to going down. Because they did that target fund, he said, like in 1995 or something, there is a lot change. The target funds, is that the right solution for you? You need to know exactly what you're investing in.
And another thing is those target date funds, nowhere on those target date funds does it tell you how much income you can pull out of that fund and have it last every year for the rest of your life, right? We talk all the time on this show about the importance of understanding where your income is going to come from. How much income can I derive from my investments every single year with a high probability of success that I'm never going to run out of money? Look, we can't control the market. We know that. But what we can do is create a roadmap, create a plan that allows us to understand how much income we can reasonably pull out without taking on too much risk so that we have the ability to live a fulfilling retirement. And I think those target date funds are oversimplified. It's great that it gets people investing, but it doesn't get us to our end goal, which is where's my income going to come from?
And just another thing on the target date fund. So let's say you choose a 2035. There's what's called to or through. Are you retiring at 2035? That means it's reducing the risk. How long, though, are you going to be now in retirement? So maybe should you have picked a target date fund that was 5 years beyond, or maybe 7 years beyond? So maybe can you explain a little bit about an in-service withdrawal? What exactly is that? Because it is a good place to save, and I get it. They were safe and they were easy. But there is one option that is out there for people if they've accumulated a lot there, right?
This is great. You mentioned federal employees in the beginning. So federal employees have the thrift savings plan, and they do have those life cycle target date funds. But when you get to 59 and a half, believe it or not, and this applies to most employers, but certainly with the federal government, you can go into your thrift savings plan or your 401k and actually take the money out of it while you're still working and roll that money over into an individual retirement account. And you get to do that tax-free on the rollover. By doing so, you can have access to several different investment options. Maybe you look at stocks or bonds or mutual funds or exchange-traded funds as opposed to the 6 or 7 options that your employer offers you. It just really opens up the universe of what is available, and that allows you to just plan. When you have more options, you're able to plan better.
Right. And so you're saying you can do a review that's better than what the federal government has? Or, we have seen, we know the letters, we know the TSP, and a lot of federal employees have a lot of their money just in the G fund. We get it. It's conservative. But as high as inflation is right now, I'm worried for federal employees that they might be invested too conservatively. Or I don't know, what is your experience when you have federal employees come into the office?
Most of the time when a federal employee comes in, like you said, what they look at it is, okay, I'm retiring in 2040, and they are in the 2040, target fund, and some of them could be conservative, then they are in the G fund. But when you look at that, what is going to happen when you retire? Well, I'm going to leave my money in the TSP, and I'm going to withdraw. Do you know how much you can withdraw? And do you know how much do you need? Do you have the roadmap? It's going to take you through the retirement, and it's going to be able to give you all the income do you need. You just need to know your options.
There was one person I met with recently, had all of her money in the G fund, right? And just like you said, and she was retiring in about 10 years. She said, I just don't want to lose. I just don't want to lose.
I get it.
I get it.
Folks, we get it.
Yep.
You don't want to lose the money.
Yep.
But go on. All in the G fund?
Well, my concern...
10 years from retirement?
Yeah, my concern is, look, if you're going to earn 1.2% for the next 10 years, are we going to be outpacing inflation? No, not even close. We're going to be lagging so far behind that your dollars are not going to be worth anywhere near what they need to be worth by the time you actually get there, right?
So your conservative person who's afraid of losing is literally losing more money than they realize by losing against purchasing power.
I call it losing money safely. And that's exactly what they're doing, right? And so the way to kind of get out ahead of this is really having an understanding of where that income is going to come from and how much money you actually need to have at the time of retirement to generate the income that you need. And this is why putting that roadmap together is so important. Look, this roadmap, it consists of an income for life plan where we project out for you all of your sources of income, where they're going to come from, how they're going to be taxed every single year for the rest of your life. It's going to look at your investments, evaluate your risk, talk about long-term care and estate planning. So there's a lot that goes into this Retire Smart roadmap. You need to start today, and you need to start by picking up the phone and dialing 833-308-5200 or taking a picture of the QR code and scheduling a time to visit with our team of professionals at Elite Income Advisors. It's truly complimentary with absolutely no obligation.
So you both have a couple offices here around the area. You're glad to take phone calls from people. You've got the QR code letting people come in from the Candlely. You just seem to be doing so much to help people with financial education in the area. I almost have to ask why. Why are you so willing to put out all of this education at no cost to people?
We've seen people make mistakes, okay? And that is the worst because once you get to retirement, you cannot make mistakes because you do not get too many do-overs. And so you get one shot to get this right. If you want to retire smart, you need to get out ahead of it and do the planning ahead of time. So pick up the phone, give us a call, visit with us, and let's see if we can get that Retire Smart roadmap ready for you.
Prashant, Ozzie, we have to take a very short break right now. Folks, please take advantage of this complimentary offer to get your own Retire Smart roadmap. Take a look at your taxes. Take a look at your investments. Take a look at the risk that you're taking. Is it appropriate for where you're at? Do you need a financial planner? Why don't you just pick up the phone and find out it is absolutely complimentary. 833-308-5200. More Retire Smart Maryland with the co-founders of Elite Income Advisors, Ozzie and Prashant, right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland with Ozzie, Prashant, and Spike. We're doing your retirement planning question. Hang on a second. I'm getting a message from our producer, Stephanie. Stephanie wants to know exactly what is the G Fund. She thinks we kind of glossed over that for federal employees around here.
Yeah, let's just break it down real quick. So the core of the thrift savings plan, which is the federal government's version of our 401k, typically has 5 main investment options: the G Fund, the S, the C, the S, and the I. So the G Fund is the government fund. It's a safe account, doesn't really earn a heck of a lot of interest every year, but it's totally safe. The C Fund is the common stock fund, very similar to the S&P 500. We have the F Fund, which is really just a bond fund. We have the I Fund, which holds international stocks. And the last one is the S Fund, which is small cap, much more higher risk fund. So we glossed over it. I just wanted to be sure that we're up to speed with that.
Exactly. And so this is just about federal employees. It's that everybody has a retirement plan like that, where your 401k, your 457, your government employee, policemen, firemen, school teachers, and we all have these different accounts. And the thing is, people aren't necessarily experts in all of it. Or like you said, the one person you were talking to, they were very conservative, so they put it in something conservative. Right. And that's why I worry about things like target date funds or just using very simple things like this inside our accounts, because when you're working, you're an expert at what you're doing, right? You're not necessarily an expert at your retirement plan at work. So do you mind talking with people who are still further away from retirement to give a second glance at what their retirement plans are to see if they're using them properly?
We love it. I mean, this is what we do every single day. I think you can't start early enough with this stuff. So it doesn't matter if you're 10 years, 15 years, 20 years away from retirement, you should have a foundation. We always talk about this idea of building a financial house, right? And if you were building a house today, what is the most important part of that house?
Foundation.
The foundation, right? And
I was going to say the pool, but yes, I got you. Yes, the foundation.
And so the foundation is the most important part, and so we need to start building that foundation as early as we possibly can. The more we can reinforce that foundation, the stronger it's going to be for your retirement to stand on.
Okay, and not surprisingly enough, I actually got a viewer question here from Roger in Pikesville. I am retiring from the federal government this year, and my wife is retiring at the same time. Our savings are comprised of the thrift savings plan, her 403B, and her outside 401k. Okay. We also have shared money outside our workplace and savings in Roth. What can I do to ensure my drawdown strategy is optimized or minimized for taxes? So they're going to have lots of things all over the place, but taxes seem to be the question. Great question, by the way.
Yeah, and I think this starts with creating a comprehensive and coordinated plan. So a great place to start is figuring out how and where those sources of income are going to be. So Roger said that he was a federal employee. So probably he's got a pension, which is great. That creates a solid foundation. But when it comes to taxes, right, if their income is too high because they have Social Security, maybe they both have a pension coming in, we might have an income tax issue. So Oz, you want to talk about one way to reduce income taxes in the future?
Maybe we should start considering doing road conversions. Most of the time, the people might hear that the road conversion and they don't know what it is. But the important part of it, how much taxes do you want to pay at your retirement when you have like pension income coming in, Social Security coming in, and you have IRAs you need to take, required minimum distribution, government is forcing us to take the money out even though we don't need to. Maybe you should considering looking up for the Roth IRA conversions, but just to make sure that it may not be good for everyone. Everyone's situation is different. You need to talk to a specialist to find out if the Roth IRA conversion is the right thing for you.
Yeah, from the different accounts, so the 403B, the thrift savings plan, their 401k, definitely want to take a look at some of those pieces because, as we know, a lot of federal employees around the area get to maybe retire a little bit earlier than the rest of it. So we're talking maybe early 60s, even late 50s. how long could they be retired, and what's going to happen with those tax implications 30 or 40 years from now?
So real quick, just to go back for 1 second, a Roth conversion, because I don't want to skip over this. I want people to understand what it actually is, right? So a Roth conversion is when you take your pre-tax retirement dollars and actually convert it into a Roth. By making that conversion to a Roth, the Roth now becomes potentially totally income tax free for the future. The downside to it is that you have to pay all those taxes in the year that you make the conversion, which count as income. So that's why we said you could go into a higher tax bracket, right? So is it a good idea? That remains to be seen. Speak with a professional. To get back to your question here, we've seen so many people, especially federal employees and firefighters and people that serve in the police department, that spend more time in retirement than they actually did working. I'll never forget this. I had a firefighter client. He retired when he was 48 years old. From the fire department. Anne Arundel County Fire Department, retired 48 years old. He's got a pension, deferred compensation plan, and like a drop program, which is their version of our 401k. Right, so if that guy ends up living to be 85 or 90 years old, he's going to spend more time in retirement than he actually did working. And I bring that up because I know that there's so many firefighters and federal employees and police officers out there who are going through the same thing, and they're concerned. And I know that because they come in and they tell us every single week, as Prashant, what happens if we live to be 80, 85 years old? Are we going to have enough money? And you will not know the answer to that unless you put this roadmap together.
And I don't want to scare anybody out there, but for people who are, maybe 20, 30 years into a retirement like that, is there any fear or worry of losing that pension? I mean, we know how much in debt the federal government is. I'm not saying we see this anywhere or anybody's talking about it in Congress, but should they have some sort of at least backup plan or a written strategy to know where their income sources are going to come from?
Yeah, I mean, just look at Social Security alone, right? So we've heard all of the funding issues that Social Security has, where every year since 2011, Social Security has paid out more in benefits than it's actually taken in taxes, right? So I know you were talking with a client just a couple weeks ago about this newer idea out there where you can actually take part of your own money and create your own pension for yourself. I thought this was an awesome idea.
Again, you can do this. You can create your own personal pension. Is it the right thing for you? We don't know. That's why you need to come, sit down and talk to us. We can show you all different ways creating a guaranteed income stream for the rest of your life.
And that is what the Retire Smart Roadmap is all about. Take us home. We're going to have to leave the program here. Let them know exactly what they're going to get when they call.
So when you call in, you're going to schedule a visit with Ozzie, myself, and our team at Elite Income Advisors. Phone number is 833-308-5200. It's a totally complimentary process to get your customized roadmap in place to take a look at your income, your taxes, your Social Security, and your estate plan. So pick up the phone, give us a call. Take a picture of the QR code as well.
That's right. Ozzie, Prashant, thank you guys both so very much. Make sure you get your own complimentary review to make sure that you can be and stay retired. Thank you for watching Retire Smart Maryland with Ozzie and Prashant. We'll be back again next week.